Number 1 is going to make half of you absolutely furious. Hit subscribe because the comment section is about to explode. And here are the 10 dumbest 9mm pistols people still buy in 2025. Number 10. SCCY CPX2. Every gun store has that one display case filled with budget pistols that catch first-time buyers' eyes like moths to a flame. The SCCY CPX2 sits right there with a price tag that screams bargain and looks that whisper tactical to unsuspecting customers. New shooters walk in with $300 and walk out thinking they scored the deal of the century. The truth hits later when they actually try to shoot the thing at their local range. The trigger feels like you're pulling a boat anchor through wet cement, requiring enough force to crush a soda can and leaving your finger exhausted after one magazine. Light strikes happen more often than anyone wants to admit, leaving you with a disappointing click instead of a bang when you need it most. Magazines jam up regularly during normal operation, and the whole gun feels like it was assembled by someone having a really bad day. The lifetime warranty sounds great until you realize you'll be using it constantly to fix problems that shouldn't exist on any functioning firearm. Customer service means shipping costs that add up quickly, and you'll spend more time waiting for repairs than actually practicing with your gun. Price: usually under $300. The Hi-Point YC9 actually works better for similar money. Yes, it looks like something from a sci-fi B-movie, but it goes bang every time you pull the trigger. That's what matters when your life depends on it. Number 9. Taurus G3C. Taurus tried to fix their reputation problems with the G3C, marketing it as their comeback pistol that could compete with the big names in the industry. The problem is Taurus quality control still resembles a coin flip, where sometimes you win big and sometimes you get a paperweight. Some G3Cs run perfectly fine for thousands of rounds without any issues, while others break before you finish your first box of practice ammunition. The trigger bar can snap during normal shooting sessions, leaving you with a very expensive club instead of a functional defensive weapon. Slide locks fail when you least expect it during range time, and the extractor issues cause more headaches than a tax audit. Customer service takes forever to respond, and you'll spend more time shipping the gun back than actually shooting it. The worst part is never knowing which version you'll get when you open that box fresh from the factory. Some owners report excellent experiences, while others deal with constant malfunctions that make the gun unreliable for serious use. The grip texture varies between guns, and magazine quality control also suffers with some feeding perfectly and others causing constant jams. Price around $350 to $400. Why would you gamble your family's safety on a coin flip when reliable alternatives cost just $50 more? The Canik TP9 Elite SC costs $50 more and actually works. It comes with better sights, a crisp trigger, and a track record that doesn't require crossing your fingers every time you load it. Number 8. Ruger American Pistol. Ruger looked at the striker-fired market and decided they could build a better mousetrap than everyone else in the business. What they delivered was the American Pistol, a gun that feels like it was designed by a committee of people who never actually shot pistols before. The trigger has more stages than a rocket launch, starting spongy and mushy before ending with a break that feels like snapping a wet twig. The grip angle makes most shooters feel like they're holding a SCCY instead of a precision instrument. And the whole gun points awkwardly for anyone used to modern ergonomics. Reliability issues pop up with certain hollow point ammunition because the feed ramp geometry wasn't quite right from the factory. Even Ruger dealers push customers toward other options because they know this one missed the mark completely. The modularity they promised turned out to be more marketing hype than reality, with limited frame options actually available and compatibility nightmares for holsters. The magazine release feels mushy and imprecise, and the slide stop doesn't always engage properly when the magazine runs empty. Overall, build quality feels inconsistent between individual guns, and some shoot reasonably well, while others struggle with basic accuracy. Price: Usually around $450, Ruger makes the excellent Security 9 for less money. Better trigger, proven reliability, and simpler operation that actually makes sense for real-world use. Number 7. Smith & Wesson SD series. Smith & Wesson wanted Glock money without doing Glock research, so they basically copied everything they could see from the outside of a Glock pistol. Glock sued them and won the case decisively, forcing changes that somehow made the trigger even worse than the original copy attempt. The SD series trigger feels like pulling a rubber band attached to a brick, requiring enough pressure to leave your finger sore after a typical range session. The plastic sights bend if you look at them wrong, and the grip texture feels like holding a bar of soap covered in fine sandpaper. These guns exist because Smith needs something under $300 in their catalog, not because shooters need another mediocre striker pistol that barely functions. By the time you fix the trigger and sights to make it actually shootable for defensive purposes, you've spent enough money to buy a proper M&P that works correctly from the factory. The whole gun feels cheap and poorly thought out, with controls that don't fall naturally under your fingers and ergonomics that seem designed by committee. Magazine quality varies wildly between individual units, and some feed reliably while others cause constant stoppages. The slide finish wears quickly with normal use, and the gun starts looking beat up after just a few thousand rounds. Usually under $300. Just buy the M&P 2.0 instead. It costs maybe $50 more and actually feels like a gun designed by professionals instead of accountants trying to hit a price point. Number 6. Bersa Thunder 9. Bersa built their reputation on reliable .380 pistols that worked well for concealed carry applications. So naturally, they tried scaling up to 9mm for more serious defensive work. What works in a pocket gun doesn't always translate to duty-sized pistols, and the Thunder 9 proves that lesson painfully well for anyone who bought one expecting similar performance. The double-action trigger pull requires enough force to open pickle jars, making accurate first shots nearly impossible under stress when you need precision most. The gun weighs more than modern alternatives while carrying fewer rounds, giving you all the bulk with none of the benefits that make heavy guns worthwhile. Parts availability depends on import schedules that change with political winds and supply chain issues, meaning repairs can take months instead of days when something breaks. The whole design feels like something from the Clinton administration trying to compete against modern engineering. The double-action to single-action transition requires extensive practice to master, and most shooters struggle with the dramatically different trigger pulls between first and follow-up shots. Magazine springs wear out quickly with regular use, and replacement parts cost more than they should for an import pistol. Price: around $450. A used Glock 19 costs about the same and offers better everything: more parts availability, lighter weight, simpler operation, and higher resale value when you inevitably upgrade. Number 5. Springfield XD series. Springfield marketed XD pistols as the ultimate in safety, with more mechanical safeties than a nuclear power plant control room needs to operate safely. The grip safety, trigger safety, loaded chamber indicator, and striker status indicator sound impressive until you realize they're solving problems that don't exist while creating new ones that actually matter. The grip safety can fail to work properly with wet hands or non-standard grips, potentially leaving you with a very expensive paperweight when you need it most in a crisis. All these extra parts mean more things that can break during normal use, and the high-bore axis creates more muzzle flip than necessary for quick follow-up shots. Law enforcement agencies adopted these years ago, but many have moved on to simpler, more reliable platforms that don't require safety theater to function properly under stress. The Croatian manufacturing adds another layer of import uncertainty to parts and service availability that can leave you waiting for months. The grip safety in particular causes issues for shooters with smaller hands or non-standard grips, and the loaded chamber indicator creates a snag point that can catch on clothing. training with these guns requires learning to work around the safety systems rather than developing good fundamental shooting skills. Price, usually around $500. How many safety features do you need before you realize the gun itself might be the problem? The Canik Mite costs less and works better. Simpler design, better trigger, more accessories included, and no safety systems that might fail when you need them most. Number 4. CZ75 series. Gun enthusiasts treat the CZ75 like it's the holy grail of handgun design, immune from criticism, because it was designed in communist Czechoslovakia during the Carter administration when disco was still popular. The reality is this gun represents peak 1975 thinking with 2025 pricing that doesn't make sense anymore for practical shooters who need modern performance. The high-bore axis increases muzzle flip compared to modern alternatives, and the slide-mounted safety sits in an awkward position that most people can't reach naturally during high-stress encounters. The double-action trigger pull often exceeds 10 lbs, requiring serious finger strength just to make the gun go bang on the first shot when accuracy matters most. The whole design weighs more than necessary, without providing corresponding accuracy benefits that justify carrying around all that extra steel every day. Modern striker-fired pistols achieve similar accuracy while weighing significantly less and costing hundreds of dollars less than this communist-era relic. The slide-mounted controls require breaking your firing grip to operate safely, and the overall package size is larger than necessary for what you get in return. Price, usually $600 to $800. The CZ P320 offers the same Czech engineering in a modern package. Better ergonomics, lower bore axis, striker simplicity, and competitive pricing that actually makes sense. Number 3. Glock 19, Generation 3. Criticizing the Glock 19 is practically heresy in gun circles, but someone needs to point out that paying full price for Generation 3 technology in 2025 makes about as much sense as buying a flip phone because it has good battery life. These guns lack front slide serrations that even budget pistols include as standard equipment nowadays, making press checks awkward and slide manipulation difficult during malfunction clearance drills. The plastic sights deform under normal use, and the grip texture feels like holding a greased bowling ball or coarse sandpaper, depending on which generation you get. No factory optics cuts mean paying extra money for custom machine work that should be included from the factory in today's competitive market. The trigger feels like pulling rubber bands through gravel, and most people immediately start planning upgrades before they even leave the gun store parking lot. By the time you add night sights, a better trigger, stippling work, and optics cuts, you've spent over $1,000 on a $500 gun that still has outdated ergonomics from the 1980s. The magazine release is small and hard to reach for people with average-sized hands, and the overall ergonomics feel dated compared to modern alternatives. Parts availability is excellent, but that's because you'll need to replace most of the gun to make it competitive with modern alternatives. Price, usually around $500. The Walther PDP costs less and includes everything you'd want to add to a Glock. Better trigger, optics ready, front serrations, and ergonomics designed this century instead of the last one. Number 2. HK USP9. Nothing screams, I paid too much for German engineering, quite like an HK USP9 sitting in your gun safe collecting dust while you carry something else that actually works better. This pistol costs over $1,000 for technology that peaked when dial-up internet was considered fast, and everyone thought Y2K would end civilization. The ergonomics feel like holding a brick, designed by someone who never actually held a handgun, and the high-bore axis makes muzzle flip worse than necessary for accurate follow-up shots. The double-action trigger pull feels like operating a rusty stapler that's been sitting in a garage for 20 years without any maintenance or lubrication. Magazines cost $50 each, while competitors sell theirs for $20, and specialized parts require paying premium prices for what should be standard maintenance items. The safety and decocker system requires a PhD in German engineering to operate correctly under stress, and mounting modern optics costs more than some complete pistols from other manufacturers. HK fanboys defend it with religious devotion while secretly wishing they bought something else that actually works better for the money. The whole gun feels overbuilt for civilian use, and the complexity adds weight without corresponding benefits for most shooters who just want reliable defensive performance. Price: usually over $1,000. Number 1. Sig P320. The most controversial choice on this countdown, the Sig P320 enjoys massive popularity, military adoption, and fan-based loyalty that borders on religious devotion among tactical enthusiasts everywhere. It also has the most documented safety issues of any modern service pistol currently in production and available for civilian purchase. The problem started in 2017 when video showed P320s firing when dropped at specific angles, leading Dallas Police Department to immediately suspend their use, pending investigation into potential safety hazards. Price: usually around $600. These 10 pistols prove that popularity doesn't equal performance, and price doesn't guarantee quality in today's market. The comment section is about to become a battlefield with fanboys defending their expensive mistakes. But facts beat feelings every time. Hit like if this opened your eyes, dislike if you think I'm wrong, and subscribe for more controversial gun truths. Until next time, buy smart and don't let brand loyalty cloud your judgment.